How your body reacts to drinking water. First thing in the morning. You have been unconscious for the last 7 to 8 hours. You did not eat. You did not drink. But your body did not stop working. Your kidneys were filtering. Your lungs were exhaling moisture with every breath. Your skin was losing water through your pores. Your brain was running a full maintenance cycle, flushing out metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, a process that requires significant fluid. By the time you open your eyes, you are already in a state of mild dehydration. Not dramatic, not dangerous, but real, measurable, and biologically significant. And the very first decision you make, before coffee, before food, before your phone, is going to set the biochemical tone for the next several hours of your life. Most people reach for caffeine. But caffeine is a diuretic. It tells your kidneys to release more water. You are pouring more debt onto a system that is already running a deficit. What happens instead when you drink water first? Not as a wellness trend, not as a TikTok habit, but at the actual physiological level, organ by organ, minute by minute. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what the science says happens inside your body in the 30 minutes after you drink your first glass of water in the morning, and why researchers across gastroenterology, neuroscience, and cardiovascular medicine consider it one of the highest leverage biological decisions you can make before 9 a.m. Let's start the clock. Before we trace what water does, you need to understand what your body looks like the moment you wake up. The average adult loses between 400 to 900 milliliters of water overnight through three primary mechanisms: respiration, perspiration, and the glymphatic system. Every exhaled breath carries water vapor out of your lungs. Even in a cool room, your skin loses moisture continuously, and your brain's waste clearance network, the glymphatic system, requires significant fluid to complete its nightly maintenance cycle. The glymphatic system was only fully described by neuroscientist Dr. Maiken Nedergaard and her team at the University of Rochester in 2013, making it one of the most significant neurological discoveries of the last decade. During deep sleep, cerebrospinal fluid is pumped through channels surrounding brain cells, flushing out metabolic byproducts including beta-amyloid proteins, the same proteins that accumulate in Alzheimer's disease. This entire process is heavily water-dependent. By morning, your plasma osmolality, the concentration of dissolved particles in your blood, has risen measurably. Your blood is, in precise scientific terms, slightly thicker than optimal. This matters for everything from kidney function to cognitive performance to cardiovascular load. This is the biochemical starting point. This is the body that receives your first glass of water. The moment water enters your mouth, the response begins faster than most people expect. Your oral mucosa, the thin membrane lining your mouth, is one of the most sensitive osmoreceptor surfaces in your body. Osmoreceptors are cells that detect changes in fluid concentration. After a night of mild dehydration, these cells are primed and responsive. Within seconds of water contact, they begin sending signals through the vagus nerve directly to the brainstem, the body's most ancient regulatory center. This vagal signal does something important. It begins down-regulating your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight branch, and activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch. Research from the University of Edinburgh found that even the anticipation of fluid intake in mildly dehydrated individuals was sufficient to produce measurable changes in autonomic nervous system tone. As water moves down your esophagus, it triggers peristalsis, the rhythmic muscular contractions that move contents toward the stomach. Cold water moves faster through this passage, while room temperature water is processed with slightly less thermal energy expenditure. By the time the first glass reaches your stomach, typically within 30 to 60 seconds of drinking, your nervous system has already registered the intake and begun preparing the downstream organs for what is coming. Your stomach in the morning is essentially empty and in a state of low motility. During sleep, gastric activity slows dramatically. The gastric lining has been producing a small amount of hydrochloric acid overnight, but the muscular activity of the stomach wall has been largely dormant. Water entering the fasted stomach wakes all of this up simultaneously. First, it activates gastric mechanoreceptors, pressure-sensitive nerve endings in the stomach wall. These receptors detect volume and send signals to the enteric nervous system, the vast neural network embedded in your gastrointestinal tract, sometimes called the second brain. This network contains more neurons than your spinal cord, and it begins orchestrating a coordinated wake-up sequence for your entire digestive system. Second, water dilutes the concentrated gastric acid that has pooled in your stomach overnight. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Neurogastroenterology and Motility examined gastric emptying rates in the fasted state and found that water, uniquely among all consumable liquids, exits the stomach with exceptional speed. Approximately 50% of a 500 milliliter glass of water clears the stomach within just 10 minutes. This is because water does not trigger the pyloric sphincter, the valve between your stomach and small intestine, to close and slow transit in the way that food, fat, or protein does. This rapid gastric transit means water is not sitting in your stomach like a heavy meal. It is moving quickly toward where the most significant biological action occurs. Third, the mechanical stretching of the stomach from water volume activates the gastrocolic reflex. This is the physiological explanation for why many people feel the urge to use the bathroom shortly after drinking water in the morning. The stomach's detection of incoming volume sends a coordinated signal to the colon to begin clearing space. This is not a sign of something going wrong. It is your digestive system running exactly as designed. This is where morning water consumption becomes genuinely remarkable at the cellular level. Water that exits the stomach enters the duodenum, the first segment of the small intestine, and encounters a surface area that, if unfolded, would cover an area roughly the size of a tennis court. The small intestine is lined with finger-like projections called villi, and each villus is covered with even smaller projections called microvilli. This architecture creates a massive absorptive surface designed for rapid uptake. Water absorption in the small intestine occurs through aquaporin channels, specialized protein pores first described by Nobel Prize-winning biochemist Peter Egre, and through active co-transport alongside sodium and glucose molecules. The fasted, mildly dehydrated morning state creates an ideal osmotic gradient. Your intestinal cells are lower in fluid concentration than the incoming water, which means absorption is maximally efficient. Within 10 to 20 minutes, a significant portion of your morning glass of water has entered your bloodstream. Your blood plasma, which had become slightly more concentrated overnight, begins to dilute back toward optimal osmolality. Your red blood cells begin moving more easily through your capillaries. Your blood viscosity, its thickness and resistance to flow, decreases measurably. A 2019 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examining morning hydration status found that even mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% of body weight, was associated with measurably increased blood viscosity and elevated heart rate at rest. Rehydration brought both markers back toward optimal range within 20 minutes. We will cover the rest in Part 2.